I've tried to get this movie and our guest here for years, and I'm just utterly thrilled I'm able to do it. I don't see how anyone cannot be excited about Robert Mitchum playing Philip Marlowe. And most notably, our special guest, who makes a scintillating screen debut. I described tonight's guest in the festival program as a Renaissance man, and he certainly fits that bill to a T. He has been a ranked heavyweight boxer. He's a skilled actor who graced the original Superman films, among other credits. He's a producer, also the author of a terrific book that was inspired by his own true life lineage that we will talk about after the movie. Please give a warm Palm Springs welcome to the one, the only, Jack O'Halloran.
Probably in reality the most favorite movie I've done, because I met a great friend, Robert, and
Yeah.
it was the first picture I ever did, and well, not a bad way to kick it off,
No, not at all. And from what I understand, Robert was central to you getting the part. How did you get the part, and what did Robert have to do with that?
Some people, actually, there was an actor, his name, who suggested something, and then they called me up and they asked me if I would come out and do a screen test, and I said, yeah, okay. So I flew out from the East Coast and I did a screen test at Richard Widmark's house in Malibu Canyon Road, and Dick Richardson, Harry Dean Stanton was there, and he read lines with me. And Mitchum saw the screen test, and Mitchum said, it's either him or I don't do the movie.
No wonder you bonded.
He was, he was, and I had only met him once or twice. I think he saw me fight in Los Angeles when I knocked out Manuel Ramos in '68. Because he was a fight act, he was
right.
A fight. He was an incredible individual. He's probably one of the best read individuals I ever met in my life.
He educated himself. He wrote poetry.
He sang songs. He was a.
He made an album of calypso songs.
Yeah.
After he,
and the Little Brown Jug is mine. He wrote that.
Yeah.
And he was, he was just. He had a photogenic memory, and I think one of the funniest stories that I used to ask him questions. He never really taught me how to act. He taught me about the industry, and we became like father and son. I was around him a lot, and I used to ask him questions all the time about this person and that person. And he was very, very close to Howard Hughes. Howard Hughes wanted him to run RKO Studios.
Yeah.
When he bought the studio, and Robert said, "But Howard, I'd have to get up before the actors." So.
Yeah. I think Howard Hughes, in a way, wanted to be Robert Mitchum.
Well, it's when he got busted for
the pot bust.
The pot thing, it was a setup. He said, "I walked into this party and I just put my hands out." He said, "It was a setup." And they locked him up, and they wanted him to give up a lot of people in town that smoked pot and stuff, and of course he wouldn't say a word. And Howard went down to bail him out. And he's standing there in front of him, in front of the cell where he's at. He said, and Howard said, "Robert, you do not have to be in this filthy, disgusting, deplorable place with these filthy, rotten people." And Robert said, "But Howard, I'm in this palace with these wonderful people." And he said when he got out, and he did a few months. When he got out, he put the holding cells, he put the shelves in, he put the stereo system in.
Oh yeah.
And Howard Hughes wrote him a check for $50,000 or something.
Oh yeah, he kept them going. Well, one of Mitchum's favorite lines when he was up, it was up in Castaic, up in the work farm, and someone from the newspaper came up to interview Mitchum, and they said, "Well, what's it like, Robert, being in jail, being in the work farm?" And he says, "It's like Palm Springs without the riffraff."
he I'll tell you a great Howard Hughes story.
Yeah.
Robert raised quarter horses. And a lot of people don't know this. He won the Ruidoso 4 times, which is the wealthiest quarter horse race in the business. And he had an original little farm in Maryland, right down the street from the White House.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like the resident star. Whenever they needed a star and he was home, they'd invite him to dinner. And he got a phone call one day, and they said, geez, we would like to have you come up to this dinner. He didn't think anything of it. And he went, and he was the only non-military person there. And he said, wow, and he got done eating dinner, and they were all standing around talking, and one of the generals said to him, Robert, what do you know about Vietnam? And he said, I was just about to start to give him one of my lines, and I said, I don't know, nothing. Mm-hmm. And another guy said, well, don't you think it's time you found out? And he thought that was awful bizarre, and he went home, and he was the only non-military guy at the dinner. And then he got a letter in the mail, and Mitchum was in the Army, but they had to ask him to leave. I mean, he was in the can most of the time. Yeah. So he didn't raise up to any great lengths. He was below profit when they asked him to go home. And he gets a letter that you're reinstated back into the armed forces at the level of colonel. And he said, I said, what? He said, yeah, man, I get this letter in the mail. And they wanted him to go and fly these reconnaissance flights because he had this amazing photogenic memory. And he was scoping and writing things and drawing maps for them and all this jazz. And he was over there for a couple of months. He said, and all of a sudden they started shooting at me. And he said, I think it's time to go home, So he gets home. He says he's home a couple of months, and he's still trying to figure out what the whole thing was all about. And he got a phone call from Howard Hughes. And the only thing Howard Hughes said to him was, do you know about Vietnam now, Robert? He put that whole thing together.
So Hughes put that whole thing together.
He told me, he said, he used to sit up at RKO with him at night, and they used to drink bourbon. And Hughes had an amazing perception of things, And Robert said, I'm going to fix this guy. He gave a guy a couple coins and told him to call a number at a certain time. And he's sitting there waiting across from Hughes for the phone to ring to see how Howard said. Mm-hmm. He said, and before the phone rang, he was reaching for the phone, and he looked over at Robert and he said, why is this guy calling you here this time of night? Mm-hmm. He knew the guy was calling Robert Mitchum. He said, and Robert said that. He said,
well, Hughes
was off the charts.
Yeah. He had Jane Greer under contract, and she went to her doctor and was going to tell her husband that she was pregnant. And she had not gone. Hughes called her up and said the rabbit died. Hughes knew from her doctor that she was pregnant before she did.
He was an amazing guy.
So Mitchum on the set, how did he work with Dick Richards, the crew?
Robert was great. Robert, you got to understand, here's a picture we did for like $2.8 million. Yeah? And you got a cast like Mitchum, John Ireland, Harry Dean Stanton, Charlotte Rampling. I mean, you had 4 Oscar winners on the crew of this film. John Alonzo was an Oscar winner for cinematography from Chinatown. Dean Talaveras did the sets for The Godfather. The Westmores were the greatest makeup people in Hollywood. And the fellow that did the special effects was an Oscar winner. And Robert was, they all came to work because of Mitchum. And he was the kind of a person that if he ate steak, everybody ate steak. He was just that type of an individual. People loved him. He was, I could never say enough things about Robert Mitchum because he was an incredible individual. I remember I come out of Samuel Goldwyn Studios one day, and the editor was also an award-winning guy. And the editor was stopped me at the gate, and he said, you know what, kid, I'm putting this picture together. He said, this is the first movie you've ever done? I said, yeah. He said, you're going to be a big star. He said, yeah, I'm putting this thing together. He said, this is actually terrific work, what you're doing. So I didn't think nothing of it. I went to work that day, and I grabbed Mitchum, and I said, maybe I should go to UCLA and take some elocution lessons. I said, this guy's telling me I'm going to be a great star, man. Maybe I should take some acting lessons or do something. And he looked at me and he laughed and he said, stick with me, kid. You'll far through silk. Don't worry about a thing. You're doing real well there, son. He said, just keep on doing what you're doing. And he was just that type of an individual. I went to him one time after the film came out, and we were hanging around, and I said to him, boy, the film got great accolades. I said, maybe I should get an agent. He said, looked at me and he pointed to the phone book. I said, what's the phone book do? He said, full of agents. I said, no, who do you think I should go and see? Not me. He said, nuh-uh. He said, I'm going to give you an agent, and the guy doesn't do right by you, and you're going to come punch me in the mouth 6 months later? Ain't happening. And he was just, God, we had a tremendous, we had a great friendship. He was a brilliant guy.
How did he get on with Dick Richards? Because I know Dick Richards and Alonzo, you were telling me, had a little tete-a-tete on how the film was going to be directed.
Dick Richards had only directed, he was a commercial guy.
Yeah.
You ever see that commercial, Spicy Spicy Meatballs? That was Dick Richards.
Yeah.
Dick Richards did a lot of commercials, and he did a couple films before Farewell. And Jerry Bruckheimer, he was just starting out.
Film, yeah.
And, so Dick was a little bit scared of Mitchum. I mean, the very first shot we ever did, he said, cut before action. And Robert said to him, well, you got to say action first, so that set the tempo right there. Right? So we're getting down the street a little bit, and he and Alonzo were arguing all the time because John Alonzo really wanted to be the director. So we're sitting with the Queen Mary, and we're in a suite drinking champagne with Charlotte Rampling, and they called us to the set, and Robert said, come with me, young man. And he took a script with him, and he walked out to the set, and he threw the script in the middle of the floor, and he said, here's the deal. When you two children stop arguing and figure out who's going to direct this picture, and if you change one more line in that script without coming to me first, I got 13 Jewish lawyers out there in limousines that are going to alter this whole situation here. Now, do we get myself in clear here or what? And we walked back to the room. I said, well, what are we doing? He said, listen, this is how you take care of these people. Remember one thing, they got solenoid on you, not them. They can all be replaced, kid. You can't. He was always teaching me different things about how do you stand up to these people and all that stuff. And I said, well, I'm not worried about them anyway. He said, but hey, let me tell you, kid.
Yeah.
And he was.
Well, I know he went after Richards, and I know Victoria will appreciate this. The suit that Mitchum wore throughout the movie, when he looked at it, he looked at it, the name in it was Victor Mature. So it was your dad's suit. And so he kept going to Dick Richards saying, why the hell do you have me wearing this old farted up suit that Victor Mature wore? and gave him a hard time over that.
He was,
yeah.